You put it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do.
Well, it's interesting, too, as you go through the ranks of people who are playing roles in this jackboot-crunching tyranny that's coming down the street, you find that most of them are just people who believe that they know more about how to keep us healthy and safe, and so that we should do what they say they tell us to do, and they are morally bolstered in their activities. And we did run a really interesting quote this month from C.S. Lewis that I think so perfectly fits, and it's a difficult thing to deal with, because it's one thing to deal with absolute abject tyrants. Anybody can rally in opposition, but for these bleeding heart socialist public health workers and whatnot, they're not the violent, angry, murderous despots that we've reviled in history. And so here's this quote from C.S. Lewis. It's just great. Of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. It may be better to live under the robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep. His cupidity may at some point be satiated. But for those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience.
Boy, isn't that profound? And,
oh, no, it's something.
And C.S. Lewis, well, C.S. Lewis, of course, a famous Fabian socialist, and I guess I should say pedophile. That's one of your headlines as well. Maybe we'll get to that. Let's just, I already spent the first hour talking about beer and National Endowment of the Arts Rockefeller porn subsidized by our stimulus bill here. So I guess at this point there's nothing taboo left today on this program.
I think there's not very much left that's taboo at all, because in the world of, say, morality in the Judeo-Christian sense, I know that's kind of a weird oxymoron in itself, but in our cultural sense here, everything that could have indicated a moral or ethical boundary in this country has been completely obliterated from the top. And here we are, a culture of people who are left rudderless by government structure that is so corrupt and institutionalized so that it even identifies its own corruption and then does so publicly and then funds it.
Yeah, and it's all justified.
Sure.
A quote I like to use quite a bit on this program is the urge to save the world is always a false front to control it, whether they believe that or not, because they really do convince themselves that they know what's better for us, as you just mentioned. I also like to say this. Absolute power should be questioned, absolutely.
That's a fairly excellent turn of that cliche phrase.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Was that an original one, Jack?
I can't remember. It's one of those things that I don't know if I came up with it or I heard it subconsciously somewhere, but I'll take credit for it. Why not?
Okay, sure, why not?
I'm a radio host. That's what I do for a living. Take credit for other people's work. Man. I try not to, but...
Yeah, we do that in the newspaper biz, too, by the way.
The global oink. I love your headline. This is the big headline, folks, on the Idaho Observer. And by the way, you can find them at idaho-observer.com or proliberty.com/observer. This month's edition, Volume 12, Number 1, July 23rd, 2009. $2. Oink, this is not a drill, oink. Global pandemic purveyors are preparing to vaccinate billions with vaccines promising to be deadlier than a novel H1N1 flu virus that may not exist. And I love the last end of that, because I'm having a really hard time finding people, Don, that might contemplate, at least debate the issue, that the disease of which we are going to be inoculated against with this poison might not actually exist to begin with.
Well, it gets into a very, this field, immunology, if you want to call it that, or epidemiology, or vaccinology even, these disciplines, if you want to call them that, are very, very complex, and they're based upon the germ theory of disease, which is an utter fraud. So again, we were talking earlier about how this, the way Congress acts and all the things that as they unfold in the courtrooms of America and the halls of the legislatures and everything, they're from this baseline understanding that is utter nonsense. And when we are dealing with illness in an epidemiological way, all of the work that they're doing allegedly to prevent the spread of illness is contrary to that. Absolutely. It's completely contrary.
Would it be too much to ask for actual proof? The pig flu before?
No, just be frightened to death and take whatever we shoot in your arm. Shut up and be happy.
And be happy. John Harkins with us, Idaho-Observer.com, the Idaho Observer. He'll be back with us right after this deadline live, AmericanFreedomRadio.com and affiliates. Stay tuned.